Te hei Māori ora, ka tangi te titi, ka tangi te kaka, te tangi hoki ko o. Greetings. The mutton bird cries, the parrot cries, and I reply. Greetings to the Vice-Chancellor Stuart McCutcheon, to the co-patron Sir Anand Satanyand, to the Vice-Chancellor Jenny Dixon, to worship the Mayor, to the Right Honourable Helen Clark, to Honourable Ministers, current and recent, to distinguished alumni, to distinguished family, to distinguished guests and to distinguished friends. The mihi, I said, connects me to my grandmother, Sarah Sherbet. She was of Ngāi Tahu, was brought up on the neck in Rakiura. She had rights to collect titi on the islands, and my grandfather, William Robertson, of Scots descent, was one of the very few Pākehā that was accepted on those islands at the turn of last century. My maternal grandparents were John Patrick and Catherine O'Driscoll, and they were of Irish descent. And so I say to all our dearly departed, haere, haere, haere. Now my pleasure is to thank the university, and particularly the Vice-Chancellor and the professional, academic and administrative staff. This has been a wonderful occasion, and I think we are so grateful. We are also so honoured this year to be awarded the Distinguished Alumni Award, and it is humbling to note that my fellow awardees, what they have achieved, but also to note the past awardees as well. And there's a host of them, and they're all very distinguished. So what I can say is well done to Auckland University. It helps build that high standing that the Vice-Chancellor was telling us about. It is marvellous to get the ratings in the top 100 universities that we hear about, and also the top 75 innovative universities. Because New Zealand universities, and there's 8 of them, and they're all good, but this one's the best. The resource input to the academic outcome is so good. I've had experience at Pennsylvania, and they're 19th on the list. They have immense resources and endowments, like many other American universities. The Asian universities are now coming through very quickly, and some governments are see it as a strategic to spend money. Nanyang University, technological, is 11th on the list. I visited it over 50 years ago, and I just can't get over the fact it's now 11th on the list of the 100 world university, from a small Chinese university then. I have visited and worked at Cambridge several times, and Robertson College there, nothing to do with me, but that's an American millionaire who endowed it. The Lata Park International Law Centre, where I was completely refurbished by a rich American woman who again wanted to get her name into. Professor Lauterpark himself told me, walking with his dogs at night, that on the open space behind his house, which was right at the side of the university, that you could walk to Oxford without ever taking your foot off land owned by Cambridge. So it's in that setting that we're hearing these world ratings. So I think I and all alumni congratulate Auckland for achieving that. My time at Auckland, quite a few years ago now, was a watershed in my education. I'd had an education of a small, remote, rural, sole charge school of 10 pupils, correspondence 2 or 3 times, 2 years at boarding school at St Bede's and Christchurch, correspondence for UE, more correspondence for surveying. I was an article cadet before it started at Otago, so I did 12 exams. So I was used to cramming at the last minute. That all changed when I came to Auckland. And there I received both tangible and intangible, invaluable learning. The tangible, New Zealand was right for the town planning school at that time. It was its 3rd year. And we'd had a prosperous 1950s, but basically New Zealand was also a bit of an aesthetic mess. Ribbon development, urban sprawl, sporadic subdivision in the country, and a concept of an economic unit which protected pastoralism and prevented subdivision to allow the diversity that we have today. So traditional planning was a big help to New Zealand at that time. The 53 Act had required every local authority to have a district or regional scheme, and I don't think there was one operational at the time that the school was starting. That all changed, of course. But the thing that the school done in the 60s was to revolutionise planning in New Zealand from the prescriptive land use, I guess, master planning model, which was fine for stable times and extended back to Plato, was to introduce policy planning, which I'd call it go-get-'em type of planning. What's your objective? Get your policies, adjust for the changes, as distinct from survey it, analyse it, and then plan. And when you do that, you're surveying, you're not quite sure what you're surveying it for, you just hope the data will be useful. And that introduced the concept of management plans and management planning. And Harry Turbot of that school did a consultancy in Urewera and introduced the term to the National Parks Authority. Policy planning was also led by Jim Dart and Mike Pritchard at that time. And Lands and Survey pioneered the concept. Eventually Forestry changed their working plans to management plans. And now you find management plans all around the country. But the point about them is not the name, it's the concept behind it, that we go for a policy or an objective, we adjust to the changes and we leave prescriptive planning behind us. So I learnt both tangible and intangible, and those were the tangible. The intangible were what's common to university education, research abilities, strategic abilities, I guess even the confidence to look at issues and come up with solutions, quite generic. One achievement of Auckland that I haven't mentioned, and it's on the world list of well-rated and work-ready. I'm a little ambivalent about that because it could well be a siren call to mediocrity. Work-ready, Apple, of course, falls closest to the tree of the employers, the business associations and the professional associations. And there is a danger that it will corrupt the core university function unless there is a partnership with those bodies and they take the responsibility. My view is that the core function of the university must be maintained, and I say that it doesn't matter what core university subject people were doing, the higher they go with it, the better. We can teach them the specialties and the technology later. Now we just have a retiring leader of the opposition who is recognised as a very good finance minister. He's also very proud of the fact that he took arts at Victoria. And I do subscribe to that principle that you educate them, we'll train them. In that respect, I'm proud to say that the spatial and science industry is really at the cutting edge. Projections ahead look bad for technology, short 20,000 jobs. Spatial's even worse because we're dealing with 2 or 3 more dimensions and it's difficult. In May, the Surveying Institute's going to launch a Kairuri Community Trust. It's a charitable trust and it will be collecting money to support critical research in universities, not to do it but to support it, training, will support diversity, etc. I'm going to be the foundation chairman in May, and Jennifer, I do want to talk to you about how philanthropy works. Now, I must say that when you look at my CV, you don't get a CV like that unless a lot of people helped you. And most of those achievements were done either working in teams or leading teams, and I must acknowledge that it's a very cooperative work to achieve many of the results that are in that, or all of those results. And particularly my family, because you need the stability and love and support, and I must pay tribute to my wife Judy for her unwavering, constant love and support and encouragement over 58 years. Thank you, dear, for always picking up the pieces. Also, my sons, Mark, Paul, Peter and Hamish, and their wives and partners, Gillian and Julie and Jason, and just thank them for their encouragement. Nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa.